Hey everyone, Dr. David Miller here, naturopathic doctor focused on digestion and nutrition as a means for overall health resilience. So it's flu time of year, and I thought today would be a good day to talk about the flu because I talked about the man cold last week that I bounced back from real quick. And so I thought I'd talk about the flu, which is a virus, and it has a little bit of an evasive maneuver that it does every year. It sort of changes its genetic makeup a little bit, just enough to avoid detection by the immune system. Changes a little bit. It's a sneaky little bugger. So it's hard to talk about the flu without talking about the flu vaccine, right? And you know, I don't want to get into trouble talking about vaccines. And at this point in my career, I don't think I'm going to get into trouble because I have quite a balanced opinion. And you know, I've looked into it a lot. I'm not just making this stuff up. I've looked into this for years. But to a lot of people, it's a great thing to do, and that's fine. And we'll talk about that. That's going to be basically the conclusion at the end of the video. So the vaccine is quadrivalent. That means there's four now different antigens in the flu vaccine. There used to be 3. I'm assuming there's 4 now because it sort of sucked. The performance sort of sucked in real life with only 3, so now they've increased it to 4. But even still, this is a guess. So these 4 sort of antigens are a guess. This is something you need to know about the flu vaccine. Yeah, they're doing their best to match it up with what's actually circulating around this year, but it's a guess. Okay, so that's important. Sometimes it's a good guess, but then you'd be appalled at how often the flu vaccine just doesn't even match what's ripping around that year. So if you actually want the values and the stats, shoot me an email or something, or write something on Facebook, and I'll send you some info for the specifics. Anyways, I want to make this analogy between taking the flu vaccine versus increasing your overall health resilience to all infections, all diseases, autoimmune disease, everything. You know, that's kind of what I'm always trying to focus on, is building resilience. So that's another thing you can do to avoid the flu. The flu, you know, it's just another infection in a way. So we've got this beautiful immune system. Let's use it. So there's 2 main things I like to use at this point with resisting infections to the flu, and that's N-acetylcysteine and vitamin D. So at this point in the year, your vitamin D is, and we talked about this last week, so I won't talk about it too much, but your vitamin D is plummeting. Supplementing your vitamin D is going to, you know, prevent flu and all sorts of other illnesses too. NAC, N-acetylcysteine, 600 milligrams 3 times a day has been used in a clinical study, and that dose appeared to be quite effective in decreasing the symptoms of the flu. Vitamin D, N-acetylcysteine, or flu vaccine. Wait, it's not or. It doesn't have to be or. You can do both. The problem is, with the flu vaccine, it helps people most who don't need it, and it doesn't help people most who need it. So elderly, frail, ill people with, you know, poorly functioning immune systems, they're the ones who suffer from, you know, getting the ill effects of the flu, and sometimes, you know, dying of the flu. Nope, they don't die of the flu. They tend to die of pneumonia, and that's a big thing. It's something that we need to talk about. People don't die of the flu 99% of the time. What do they die of? They die of the pneumonia that comes after the flu. So who gets pneumonia? Generally ill people. So just a little sidetrack there, but it's important to know that people don't die of the flu. Generally, they die of pneumonia. There's another thing you can do with regards to vitamin D, and this is something I just read about in a medical journal, and it's actually what I did last week. I didn't even know I was doing it, or I had such a cool name, but it's called the vitamin D hammer. So this was written by an MD who does this in clinical practice with a colleague, and they use up to 50,000 IU in a single dose, and they often see a resolution in 2 or 3 days from the flu. The medicine, vitamin D, costs about a penny per day at 1,000 IUs, so 50 cents. I mean, that is just dirt cheap. It's so effective too. So, you know, what can you do? You can do both. You can have the flu vaccine, and you can take vitamin D, and you take NAC, and be happy. That's great. The wisdom of one doesn't preclude the other. But the flu vaccine, you know, the best sort of analogy is it's kind of like wearing a bulletproof vest, but it only works for 4 different types of bullets. So if you get shot with a different kind of bullet that year, your vest is useless. So that's why I'm a big proponent of at least doing natural, you know, resilience building flu prevention protocols that are good for all bullets. Because the real goal of me and I hope every sort of doctor of any sort is that you feel empowered, not overpowered. And I just wanted to back that. You know, that's something I believe that's important, and I check in with myself, and that totally makes sense. But just to make sure it wasn't just a crazy Dr. Dave idea, I looked up the evidence, and here's something I read in an Iranian medical journal. It said, given that patient participation causes improved health outcomes, enhanced quality of life, and delivery of more appropriate and cost-effective services, if patients are regarded as equal partners in healthcare, they would actively participate in their own healthcare process and more carefully monitor their own care. Planning and providing patient-oriented healthcare based on opinions, needs, and preferences of patients are recommended. If I had a mic to drop, I totally would have dropped it just there. So until next week, keep nourishing, moving, relaxing, and get empowered. I want you to feel empowered. That's the number one thing, no matter what you do, vaccine, no vaccine, whatever. Just feel empowered with your healthcare decisions, and everything's going to be much better that way.